wisdom. Welcome to the Obsidian Blade Medicine Hour. It is a nice and, let's just say, slow, sensitive Friday where we are feeling our way through the moment. And that's what we want to do here as human beings who are orienting themselves to what we call New Earth, or making the shift, being a species of human beings that feel what they feel and acknowledge what they feel. And you can see that in our culture and our society, right? That's been the transformation so far, is like, oh, we're beings that feel. And a lot of the systems that have been set up in the system, in the matrix itself, don't acknowledge those feelings. Like, there's not enough time in an industrialized society to feel. But that's what we've been awakening to, of like, oh, we're not machines, we're not robots. 9 to 5 actually might not work for a lot of people. But at the same time, if you are running your own business or you've got a mission to accomplish, there are certain points that you do grind, you do hustle, you do go all in, and you work your ass off, because there's going to be a reward on the other side. There's going to be development on the other side, right? Like, it's like you're dedicating the next 3 months to, say, go to the gym and lift super heavy so that you grow new muscles, or you work for the next 3 to 6 months to a year super hard on your business, because the payoff is going to be, you reaching the amount of people that you want to reach, right? And what we're doing is, the economy that we live in right now is the one of the creators. We live in a creator economy. So it's a kind of a two-part thing, right? Getting our feelings and our senses and sensitivities back online, cleansed, harmonized, and in somewhat of an order, and also living a life with it where we can flow with the feeling, the chaos of feelings, right? The flow of feelings, right? That's that feminine aspect to ourselves, that we can go with the flow, right? What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. So we're just doing a lot of feeling here on I think it's TGIF again, right? Thank God I'm feeling. I think we're having another TGIF episode. Thank God I'm feeling. And so, one of the meditations I did this morning was really what I want to encourage. Like, if we're going to have a new Earth, it's about having a next level consensual co-creation relationship with the Mother Earth herself. Yeah, the guides are present with you today. Good. Yeah. Feeling it. And I dipped into the Mother Earth. I went straight to her core. And, to parallel, right, to create these relationships of life, we look at how life works in our human bodies, especially in the feminine. The sperm reaches the egg, and then the baby starts to become, materialized. So too can our consciousness go to the center womb of the earth, where there is the egg of the earth, that birthing, the central birthing mechanism of the earth herself. And I was hanging out there today in my meditation, and really, being with her, and just really recognizing, that relationship we have with her. And that, think about, I asked her, I said, how many, I want to feel all the children you've ever given birth to, all the civilizations that you've ever given birth to. Those are your children. Every one of those civilizations, literally the billions upon billions of human beings that you have given birth to, provided for, created the safe space in order to exist, to the best of our abilities. Look at all your children. Look at this epoch after epoch after epoch of time of you expressing yourself through your children and having children so that your children could feed back to you your evolution, Mother Earth. You know, we feed back to her questions that she has about herself, right? This is a collaborative expression of intelligence and growth and expansion. And as we get into this not only the concept but the living reality of new earth, you know, it's really time to have tribe again and to have these collaborative consensual congregations of us as creators, and to really regain our sensitivity around that. And you know, I say this phrase often, you know, towards that path of new earth, ignore reality at all costs. You know, just ignore it right now, because if we're changing the channel of where we have been placing our attention, you can't choose different if you've been choosing the same. So if we're trying to get to New Earth, then we've got to be responsible with how we've been engaging with the way it is, the system as it's been handed to us, the rituals, the conversations, the limitations. All of that is up now. It's time's up. You know, the you know, everything's been foreclosed on, right? There's really not going to be a home for these things any longer. And so we've got to ignore, we have to have part of our practice is actually completely ignoring everything on the outside of you, but not to be because you're looking for a fantasy. You know, I'm never going to give you insights and advice and practices that are about more fantasy in your life, but there's a technique. We've got to set our eyes and our hearts and our attentions upon a, you could say, a new way of doing it. When we say new earth, a new way of doing it, or we could say that it's an alignment with life. And right now, if you live in a society that is not aligned with life, you're going to have to remove your attention from it and place your attention upon the systems of life. And you know, yes, all work is internal. So starting with the internal relationship, and again, the internal relationship with the Mother Earth, you actually literally have to go inside of her. You know, thank God I'm feeling is also sexy talk with Mother Earth. You're gonna have to go inside of her and have, again, this consensual relationship of like, okay, show me, not only like, this is what I want, but also show me how to do it with you. And also, Mother Earth, what do you want? Because I know you're evolving, you're growing, you're set for a next stage of your evolution. So what's it like? You know, what are you wanting? Hey, Mother, hey, when was the last time we asked her, hey, Mother Earth, what do you want to do? You know, it's TGIF. What do you want to do, Mama Gaia? What, you know, what's on your agenda? You know, and yeah, and you know, align with her and be with her and check her out. Really start listening, and that's really the reclaiming game. The fun reclaiming game that we've got going on is that we need to listen. Like anybody we've ignored in our life that we really care about, when we go and find them again, we say, hey, what have you been up to? What's important to you? What matters to you? Who are you? And to have that same conversation with the earth, to ask the questions and then listen, and to reignite that art of listening with her and really feeling her. And also, when we've listened, I'm like, oh, I really understand where you're at and what you want to do next, because we can. We can have that connection with her, and to then, you go like, oh, this is what I'm up to too. You know, this is what I'm dreaming of, how we could create a culture that's aligned with life and how we could organize our villages and our tribes to be in total communion with you, not just as earth based beings, but realizing that we're earth based beings that are flying with the mother, because the mother's never stationary. Mama Gaia's on the go as she orbits the sun, and as the sun is also on the go. We're flying. We are flying the whole time, you know. And so to be an earth-based culture that also recognizes the flight of consciousness, that we are, and to have our villages and our clothing and our language be in harmony with what's really going on, rather than our language being in harmony with what's not going on, right? Harmony can exist on any level. You can harmonize with ignorance, or you can harmonize with illuminating, liberating, feeling good truth. And so, again, that's why I say that phrase, ignoring reality at all costs, because look, we have to admit, we've been harmonized to denial. We've been harmonized to the language of commerce that treats an earth as a dead object to do as we please, to cut up her flesh and to sell it back to ourselves at a high premium. And, that's the age of empires, right? In the age of empires, that's what they've done incredibly well. You know, uh, we've there are certain entities or families of human beings that got the jump on cutting up the mother. You could call it, those are some of the people who run the oil industries, right? You'll never see these people. You don't know their names. They're very secret people, but they are the people who pull the strings of entire nations and armies to do their bidding in order to keep a security on their wealth. I really don't know how much longer that can go on, because that's some evil level of greed, and that's part of where we're needing to really do our work to align with the vibrations of life ourselves, until we have, like I say in physics, right? Mass equals momentum. That's kind of a funny parallel too, why we would use the word mass. When people go to church, it's also called mass. I can't help but think, maybe when we go to align with spirit, that's also a mass, meaning we gather a collective momentum when we focus upon a good relationship, a communion with the Mother Earth, and consciousness and intelligence. And I can't help but feel that perhaps that's the majority of the work that does create the shift, is that if we simply align with life, then all our actions going forward will then also be in alignment with life. And it's not so much that we have to go out and attack the way it was done, but rather reclaim, cleanse, and remove our energy, reclaim, remove, and cleanse our energy from the old way, and place our attention upon her, and her way. Really, she's the great teacher. I was saying just a few minutes ago, I think about all the civilizations that she's given birth to, all her children that she's given birth to. You might think, Mother Earth has got quite a bit of wisdom, collective wisdom, especially if if I can see this symbiotic relationship, like she creates the environment to give and nurture children, civilizations to give birth, and she's tapped into the awareness of human beings, right? So any progress that any civilization or tribe or culture ever made goes into her central bank, right, of collective wisdom. Again, she's working on issues. She's got a couple of issues. I talked to her about this. She's got a couple of dating issues. Mother Earth kind of keeps dating guys that leave her because we wonder where the father is. But she's been working it out through us. So if we don't take personal the current state of human affairs, and we could see the current state of affairs as her working out an equation of evolution through us, then you would say that maybe the fact that there's a lot of shaken up around what it means to combine as a couple or to have a relationship, that's been completely going through so many radical changes that nobody knows what it is anymore. And we're evolving that conversation to a place that feels good. And I can't help but think that she's been utilizing us for that, maybe for herself. You know, she's been working out who she wants to date next. I told you, I said it long ago that, you know, there's a planetary Tinder. And I checked out Mother Earth's profile on planetary Tinder. And, you know, I just really want her to have a lot of like self-respect and alignment with what's good for her. And you know, we're doing the same. You know, it's all one and the same. It's a harmony. It's a what's the other word for harmony that I'm looking for? It's basically kind of like, you know, octaves, right? Harmonized octaves of intelligence and experience and consciousness knowing itself. So when we harmonize with her, you know, we're we're working out her stuff and we're working out our stuff collectively. So you know, it's interesting, you know, where we're going forward with all of this. You know, what does it mean to take ourselves out of the fantasy of when we say things like new earth or sixth sun or age of Aquarius, and we get into the reality. And the reality is making space and having a practice where really our best bet of survival is to hang out with the Mother Earth as much as possible. And, you know, you can hang out with her on the surface, which is fine because she is everywhere. She's in the forests, she's in the deserts, she's in the animals and the elements. But also spending that time deep within her, in her womb. If we want to get with birth of a new earth, we have to spend time in the womb with her, really checking out her plans for life and our plans for life, and say and to have that dialogue and that communion of what can we co-create together. Because Mother Earth, I'm your hands, I'm your mouth, I'm your legs, I do you. Whatever you feel, I do you. I'm with you. So how do I get what I need? This is any good relationship is this, right? How do I get what I need? How do you get what you need? And how do we get what we need together in a way that's not compromising or taking too much from the other person in the relationship? I mean, these are all the things we've been learning on the human level. I would say parallel all the things we're needing to reignite and reconnect to the Mother Earth with. So it's about consensual, balanced, equal, harmonized relationships of a beautiful exchange that goes on of mutual support. You know, we are here, she is here. How do we co-create together? And what are the delicious things that we can do going forward? And I'd really like to see sort of, you know, technologies and construction techniques that aren't so much about chopping up and deconstructing one thing to shape it into other, but rather some sort of fluid way that her flesh can harmonize and morph to our intentions, you know. Yeah, Mother Earth is exploring the passion, and you know, volcanoes, you know, are wow, incredible. What an incredible birth force a volcano is, because that's how new landforms are made. And even just recently in Hawaii, right? There was volcano. You know, was it Pele, on the Big Island, and she's doing her thing, and she's actually made a whole new landmass. There's a tiny new landmass on Hawaii right now for made by her, and you know, that's partly why I use the title of the Obsidian blade, for not only discerning truth and cutting out illusion with good, you know, force, but also that's where obsidian comes from. It comes from volcanoes that are birthing new landforms. You know, obsidian is volcanic glass, and it's very discerning. It's a very discerning element, very, very incredibly highly precise in what it does cut out. when used with intention. So, I just want to hear from you. Like, has any of you started having that dialogue with Mother Earth, really going into the womb space with her, deep within her? And if not, why not begin again to have that relationship? And I think with anything, like, I said this week too, like when you create new intentions in your life, you're immediately confronted with or new goals in your life. You're immediately confronted with what you believe. Like I was saying, I think it was on Monday, like if want you say a goal, I want $1 million, but your beliefs are only like, well, I only can have $100, you're not going to get very far. And so if you do want to go far, you've got to deconstruct the internal agreements as to the capacity of your wealth. I would say that the same thing goes for the relationship with the earth. Hey, when I say, let me encourage you to have in your practice womb space with the Mother Earth, where you really ask her questions and sit with her, immediately, trying to have that practice in and of itself will probably bring up issues of, oh, maybe I'm not worthy to hang out with her, or I don't know what to say, or there can be a weird power paradigm running through your head if someone's higher than you and you're lower than them, or you may be confronted with, like, maybe you don't know how to listen, or I think one of the core things that I think, it comes up for me is like, we're just not worthy to hang out with her, or we don't have access. Like, access is for somebody else, maybe more powerful, or access is for someone who's more holy or cleansed. And again, when we set up these practices, what I'm saying is like, look for where you might be cock blocking yourself from the earth and having a relationship with the earth because you don't believe that you can. And just to realize that we're all extremely out of practice. If you live in the West, you are out of practice because you don't live in a culture that celebrates her. You don't live in a culture that sets up rhythms or times of day or an organization of the week and an organization of culture and business to honor her. So we're out of practice. So we have to give ourselves gentleness and compassion as we relearn how to be with her. And that's the steps that we need to take. If we're going to arrive on New Earth, then we're going to have to start ignoring the way it is, business as usual, which is highly unusual, and to start finding the places that were blocked in having a connection and a communion and a dialogue with her, a playful dialogue of give and take and questions and answers and learning, relearning, reclaiming and relearning our skills to be with her. And that's really I see going forward, other than the things that you need to do in your life to maintain your life, like eating well, sleeping well, working out, having a mindfulness practice, meditation practice. This is also the big next step that we have to do. We've got to really step up and own being in communion with her. We really need to step up on that level, and that I see going forward is the nugget of physical, psychic practices going forward, is to spend time taking the elevator ride down, through the 9 levels to the womb space, to the egg space, and be with the egg of Mother Earth, and her great creation center, a center of her being, and the center of her dreaming space. And this is really, tapping into that wisdom of the Toltec and the Mexica. Is like, we're in a dream, and Mother Earth is dreaming, and she's dreaming of her children, and time to get ourselves back into the dream with her, to align all our agendas, to align all our ambitions, the thing that makes us fired up and wake up every day to participate in life. We got to question what we've been motivated to participate in, and have you been enrolled and motivated to participate in a dead culture? Have you been motivated to make millions of dollars within a dead fucking culture. I was trying not to swear. I have a friend of mine who's calling me out on the amount of swearing I do on the show. Uh, we live in a dead culture. Dead as fucking dead can be. And how I can say that? Because if you live in a culture that doesn't make space to honor the earth and to recognize where everything comes from, and a culture that celebrates greed, that's a dead culture. It's a culture that's like out for the individual rather than out for the we, out for the collective. And if we're going to embody Aquarian age ideals, this is about not one person getting all the toys and all the money and all the empire and then protecting it and defending it like a crazy person, but really looking out for the collective and raising that collective up to its full power. And full power means the reclaiming of what it means to be a full human being, which goes well beyond the assumed description of what a full human being is right now. So yeah, it's time for us to have practices that be with her and to cleanse any doubt and fear or unworthiness inside of you that says you can't be with her and that you can't have an incredibly intelligent relationship with her. And to remember, look, beyond all the intensity of the deception that goes on in the dead culture, or the land of the dead, beyond all the cleansing and intensity that's going on, remember the other side that we're getting to is a state of play. And that when we do our homework, we're going to find great levity. We're going to feel so much joy and happiness in not only waking up to a world, but being in a relationship with an earth where we know we are honoring her, recognizing her, and hearing her, and just living from a place of heart-centered joy in being the creators that we are. This is really the creator's age, the human age. I call it the human age, but it's also like the creator's age. And I just want us all to get to that space where we're creators, whether it's costumes that you're making or music or art or dance or tattooing or whatever it is. Let's get back to the creator age and thrive as creators, loving what we love so much in a way that honors life and gives back to her and is in communion with her and recognizes our powers as magical beings. Raw creatives. Yeah, I love it. Just raw creatives. Opening dimensional portals of remembrance. See, that's what I love what Little Hawk Midnight does with her tattoo work. Who did my tattoos. Go check her work out. She's beautiful. And she's a beautiful portal dimension opener through her artwork and her mission. And I love feeling inspired by her in that level of, I think one of our goals right now is to be cultural provocateurs, right? People who go out and create a little chaos, a little disturbance in the good way. Create disturbances in the land of the dead in a good way that trigger your fellow human beings to be like, wait a second, that symbol, that picture, that graphic, that piece of music, that person moving their body on the street in a different way, or the style of dress moving, expressing a different way of dress that's like ancient and future and aligned with life. Let's create, let's throw some explosions of life, and wake them up with their heart. And coming from that good space of like, okay, the most evil motherfucker on the planet, or the most disturbed, or the most angry, or the most, misaligned human being is simply that, misaligned. They've been hooked on winning big in somebody else's game. And there's never going to be winning truly big in somebody else's game because it's not your game. The game is rigged to always make the person who invented the game win the most money, win the most toys, gather the most psychic energy. You know, really your psychic energy is one of your cash flows. And if your psychic energy is consumed with winning big in somebody else's game, you're giving up quite a lot to participate in that other game. You know, and what you're giving up is your freedom. You're giving up your psychic liberation to commit to reality as one thing, and then being a slave to reality as one thing in order for you to win big in that one version of reality. And that's where we're all coming up against the walls right now of going like, wait a second, the way it is doesn't feel good. And we've discovered how to feel good, you know? So be aware that playing in somebody else's game is actually a giving up of your liberation. Now, sometimes, and that particular game that I'm referencing is a very top-down pyramid scheme type of game. But there can be circular spiral games where we're mutually co-creating together. I don't want to say that you never create or you commit to a version of reality. Yes, you know, you commit to the painting, you commit to the music, you commit to that dance, you commit to that relationship, knowing that there's an expansion and growing going on, right? We're not commitment phobes to experience and reality, but we're really having to check out what we've signed up for in the giant pyramid scheme of the slave matrix. Birch Moon Wisdom, you've talked about drawing like energy in spiritual transitions, inspires and creates permission for others. Drawing like energy. Yeah, I mean, if I understand what you're saying there, you know, really, well, first, you know, aligning with self, right? Knowing thyself and cleansing out what doesn't feel good to harmonize with what feels good, to, again, set up new standards for yourself. You know, we have to look at all the quadrants of our life first, right? Health, wealth, love, happiness. You know, what are your goals? How do you want to present yourself to the world? How do you want to give? All these kind of core questions that we've got to get aligned with and creative with. And then to examine, well, who are you hanging out with that then helps bring that forward? Because if you're hanging out with people who are more as sick as you or more sick than you in a culture that needs healing right now, then it's contagious. It's called epigenetics, right? People that you hang around in you and your environment can rewrite your DNA. And so that's why I say that first step is to kind of ignore reality at all costs, because it's currently, if you keep being hyper externally focused, you're going to have that external focus rewrite your DNA. And then you're going to be tied in to what I call the waiting game, where you're waiting for external reality to change for the changes you need to make for yourself right now. And so that's why we cut it off. We cut off external reality and we go in and we feel what we need to feel and align with what we need to align. And then we make the external choices, and then we look for the clues of what's opening up and where we can take inspired action to go next and forward. And yes, mirror neurons. Don't let your mirror neurons get hijacked. You know, again, that's part of the game, right? Everyone's doing it. Mass equals momentum. Everyone's doing it. Looks like they're having fun. You know, I want to be as famous as them. You know, whatever the dialogue is, I want to be loved and included and popular at the expense of my truth. A lot of people do that. You know, like, oh, if I get the flashy car, I'll get the girl. If I wear a certain piece of clothing, I'll be accepted by this peer group. And then it means, oh, I really made it. I really made it. You know, find tribe via vibration. Yes. you know. Yes, you know, and I love that. That's definitely, you know, if you haven't checked out Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, you know, he's got great books like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He says that phrase, or that there's that phrase in neurology, neurons or wires that fire together, right? Things that fire together wire together. So what does that really mean? That means habit. That means creating new neural networks within your mind that anchor and cement your truth more than your non-truth, right? So we are all making those transitions between our non-truth to our real truth by breaking habits of participation and habits of mindset that have kept us locked in to, like I said, the inherited worldview, the way it is, and the way it is, business as usual is highly unusual, you know? So Birch Moon Wisdom, your truth inspires risk in others. Yeah. You know, we gotta push the walls a little bit, you know? And there really is, you know, sometimes our expansion can be scary because it's new territory within our own minds and our own, and like I said, you can't choose different if you're choosing the same. And so when you choose different, different is different. Different is different, and different's gonna not maybe feel comfortable right away, right? Different is gonna be a little awkward. Okay, so when we look at a baby, right? Like walking is hella awkward at first and kind of highly dangerous, right? You know, well, like walking as a baby is kind of a super dangerous thing to do. But it's kind of like if you want to be a functioning human being, you're going to have to stand up by the power of your own two legs, right? And so there's that transition period from crawling to walking. And so it's fucking dangerous. Oh, sorry, trying not to swear. It's highly dangerous. You know, being alive is a highly dangerous thing. But how do you, I think, you know, for myself, when I hit a new space of my psychology, or I'm choosing something new because I've stopped choosing the old thing, I have to recognize that there's a transition period. It could be just for a couple of hours, or it could be for a couple of weeks where there's this like, whew, this feels a little icky. This feels a little awkward. I don't necessarily feel safe. But I know I give myself the reassurance that it's only temporary. Like transitions are always temporary, and that you will get acclimated to your new habits of power when you commit to your new habits of power. To discover what those are. Yeah, growing pains, and they're natural, you know. Yay. Thank you, Birch Moon Wisdom. And I'm sorry if I don't say people's names other than your Instagram handle. It's because I'm channeling hella shit right now. And it's hard to say names. So if I just go by your IG handle, please forgive me. So I would just say, you know, on that subject of being gentle with yourself, and to recognize that your timing is your timing. Your timing is your timing, and to really be cool with your own timing. And yes, you push yourself, you go beyond your comfort zone. You do put yourself at risk. I mean, that's kind of the part of the mantras that I utilize, right? If I didn't put myself at risk, I wouldn't be on Instagram Live or YouTube Live right now. By the way, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I would not be here, right? If I didn't put myself at risk, right? And then that's life. Put yourself at risk. Tender Vittles tribe. So put yourself at risk is one half of this. And then the other half is being cool and sensitive to, like, you have a pace. There is a certain speed of growth that is appropriate only for you. So you do try and put yourself at risk. You do try and expand, but also don't break yourself during the expansion, and that's something I've been re-examining a lot, you know, and that I really communicate a lot about is that, you know, in my early 20s, I felt like I had to really put myself at risk in intense psychic realms. But no one's asking that of you. Spirit's not asking that of you. Earth is not asking that of you. So we have to examine these false spiritual or psychic demands that we can put upon ourselves to expand really big and be at the next level. It's like, this is a process. And spirit, higher dimensional consciousness, understands it very, very well, that it's okay to just grow like a centimeter a day, you know, as long as you're moving forward, that's what matters, you know? So just be aware of where you're being vicious and cruel to yourself or placing high demands upon yourself rather than consistent growth. Consistent growth matters more and will do more for you in the long term than pushing yourself really, really, really hard and then having to recover for 6 months, or to fuck yourself up really psychically hard and have to take maybe 10 years to recover, right? We need you in the game of reclaiming your connection to Earth, but please do it in the gentle way that's just like inch by inch, rather than falsely condemning yourself to intensity where you might break. So it's that game, that balance of put yourself at risk, expand, but do it in a way that's consistent and manageable. And then when you look back a month, 6 months, a year, you've made hella progress without damage. You've made incredible progress without having to take rest. Because you're really being cool with this transition. You know, this is Shift Crew, Team Transition, Empath Nation. Like, we are on a path of reintegration with life itself. And we just want to be consistent as we grow these new muscles. That's pretty much what I got going on. What do you got going on? As we're in TGIF, thank God I'm feeling Fridays. Just being with her. So again, I'll just kind of, you know, wrap up this session with you all to be like, if you haven't incorporated having communion with womb space, communion with the Mother Earth, where you go deep into her and hang out and reclaim your connection with her, then may I encourage you to start doing that. And again, be mindful of where you might not think that you're worthy to do that, or you don't know how to do that. If you don't know how to do something, if you're having a knowledge gap or a wisdom gap or an experience gap, you ask for help. So if you don't know how to commune with her and you need to relearn, then ask for help and be guided by her on how to do it. So that means listening and feeling your way through the process until it becomes second nature. And that's what we need right now, second nature communion with Mama Gaia. And as we do that, can you see if each one of us is doing that, then when we all meet in the physical next, we're not going to be shooting the shit about sports or politics or the economy. We're going straight into communion because we've been practicing communion with how to be a true Earth tribe, you know? And that's how I want to see our cultures moving forward, is that we're not feeling awkward with one another. We're feeling very comfortable in living in the sacred with her, and that when we see each other, we high five and hug in the sacred, and we immediately posse up, circle up into the sacred, and we operate our lives from there. And, you know, operating from the sacred doesn't mean we're being holier than thou or we're having to wear white robes and all that bullshit that, you know, used to be the representation of being connected. Like, be what you are, but be connected, right? And she definitely has a lot of answers. If you think about Mama Gaia as the collective intelligence for all civilizations, which she is, when you hang out with her, you can ask her any question and receive any blueprint, any piece of technology, any way of doing things that you've ever wanted. You want to learn how to paint in a certain style, you want to learn kung fu, she's the Matrix. She's the real life Matrix, right? She's Mama Gaia with no tricks Matrix. You know, she is the collective wisdom. So be with the collective wisdom and ask your questions and relearn. She's the OG internet. She's. How could we change the Google to Gaia? I don't know. Just start there. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. TGIF. Thank God I'm feeling. Thank God you're feeling. Thank God we're all feeling as we crawl ourselves back to walking with her. And put yourself at risk. Not in the dangerous way, but find your way inch by inch until you are a marathon runner and a high flyer with Mama Gaia. So love you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you again Monday, 10 a.m. PST. Rock on through to the other side. Ciao.